lives on Jaybird Street. Love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet. Blow rockin' Robin, 'cause we really gonna rock tonight.
Welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McHugh, your ever-loving hostess, and you will be amazed at my guest because we flew together at JetBlue, so we were getting high together every day. It was just the most amazing relationship I had with Susan Flynn. But it's not just me. It was everybody on planes, walking through the airport. Susan is a magical sparkler in this world.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, Susan Flynn. Hello. You're in Florida.
Yes, I'm in Florida taking care of Mom. She's 87 years old and she's really doing well, thank God. So, but I'm fortunate to have her.
You are. And your uncle is 95?
Yes, my uncle's 95. She's one of seven, and they all have longevity in that side of the family, my mom's side of the family. They have longevity. So,
well, I hope you do too. You haven't lived as
yes,
long as I have, but you will definitely reach the 100 mark because of your energy. Let's talk about what gifts you can describe to me that you have that work with people. Not only your husband is an ordained minister, Bill's ordained, and you spend a lot of time in church, and they call you Barnabas.
Yes, I'm an edifier. At the age of 7, I started getting words of knowledge, and how I knew what it was that I knew that I'm not 100%. I'm not a perfectionist. So, and every single time I've got a word of knowledge, it was 100% accurate. So I'm not that good. I can do a lot of things, but perfectionism is just not one of my things. So,
what was your first message?
My very first message was, I am with you. I'll never leave you. And I had gone through some traumatic experiences when I was a kid, and he let me know that he could not take those things away from me, but he would be with me. And I felt his presence hold my hand.
Now you're talking
so
God.
I'm talking God. And so that was my first encounter that I can recall. I mean, I remember my grandmother holding me when I was 2. There are memories that I have before that, but my first real God experience where I heard him speaking with me is when I was about 7 years old. And he may have been talking to me before that because I was speaking in a language I didn't know. And it would come to me at night when I was praying. And so my mom had raised me in the Catholic faith, and I have since gone. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. So I'm not limited to a religion. That's one of the blessings that I have gotten, that I haven't seen a whole lot of people in the faith experience. Most of them are very limited to whatever denomination they are in, and I don't have that limitation.
I am a non-church going I believe in so much that it's just
Right.
overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I can't put a name to it.
Right.
But folks, if you're watching this and you say, "Oh, it's another person who thinks she talks to God," no, I have witnessed this with Susan when you didn't even know I was watching you. And
Yes.
a lot of us who worked with you knew there was something, but we didn't know what it was. And until you told me you married Bill, I kind of put a spiritual name to what you were doing. So let's say you're walking through a busy place, let's say an airport, let's say JFK. When you walk through and there are thousands of people around you, how do you feel it? What do you do it?
Well, I basically listen. There's a lot of listening involved, and sometimes things will just come out of my mouth that I know is not from me, because I'm not 100% in my. I'm not, as I said, I'm not a perfectionist.
Well, it's nice that you have humility, but you don't have to keep saying that because you're as perfect as you can be in this lifetime.
Right. But I mean, I see people who have, like, I would say, like OCD or ADHD, and they have gifts of hospitality. I can see the gifts in other people. No matter what you have, you have a gift.
Agreed.
Everyone gets a gift, and a gift is, you don't have to be perfect, which thank God, because we're not perfect people, and it's good to say, it's good to see the gifts in others and the good in others. There are people that I have not met, thank God, I have not met people that I can't say I don't find good in them,
Oh,
you
I
know.
used to tell my crews before we took off. When I was the number one, I would always say, a lot of people ask, "Why are you so happy?" to me, or "Why aren't you ever tired at the end of a 14-hour day?" It bugged people. It bugged people that I could buzz around and just be super at the beginning of the day and super happy at the end of the day. And I said, it's because there's an exchange. When you look for the good in a person,
Right.
if it's a micro, tiniest, infinitesimal measurement of what good is, if they know you are seeing it, they'll let that manifest and grow, and they'll give you good in return. So, and the same
Yes.
thing, if you're tired, you go to the most energetic. If you're sad, you go to the most happy person on a plane and you give them all your love, and they give you back what you need. It's like a balance, equilibrium, and a status. And
I think that you're right. I think the love is the key word there. A lot of people don't act in love, and that is something that you cannot be from God and throw somebody under a bus or say this isn't right or that isn't right and get this. There are times when you might have that a message or a word like that, but it's rare. You know what I'm saying? It's most of the time that you're talking with people, you are finding something that is healing to them. And if you're coming from a place of love, no matter what you're saying to them, they will receive that.
I
So
totally
it,
believe that. And we were going to talk about how to quell anger and fear in this political atmosphere and also the world atmosphere of wars and disrespect and prejudice and things that shouldn't happen.
well, years ago, I started seeing like a spirit of division that was coming. And I warned a lot of people about it that were close to me. And even with the warning, people's eyes are closed. They not all people, but there are a lot of people whose eyes are closed. And what happens with when they don't have eyes to see the love, okay, and they're not looking for the good, what they're doing is pointing and blaming. And when you get to that point, you've already gone over to the other side. You're either going, it's like driving a car. You're going towards the good, or you're going towards in the opposite direction, right? So, I mean, for people who are in the media, I find that it's really difficult for people in the media um, to have that peace because they have to talk about both sides,
Well,
and it becomes a yin yang thing
there's no gray area. There's no gray area for them, and they quote
right,
the news. And an appetite grows on what it feeds.
right,
So
exactly.
the more negative you give, you'll continue to think that. And
Right.
speaking individually for anybody listening, if you find yourself going down a depressed route or an angry or fearful route, which is these roads are wide open right now, and with the off ramp to those emotions, going, come on, take fear, take anger, take hatred, take prejudice. To miss those off ramps, look straight ahead and go towards the good, even in your mind. And it's a visualization actualization exercise that if you, not wearing blinkers, but pass those and bless them with your love. And
Yes.
and then you don't go down that route for the rest of the day, because I've gone down that route of anger, of fear, of all that. And
Yeah.
to crawl back up takes 10 times more energy than to just say, I'm not going to talk that way today. I'm not
Right.
going to give that vibe today. I'm not going to do this today. I'm not going to read that newspaper. I'm not going to turn on this channel.
And letting
I
it
can't.
go. I think a lot of people can't let things go. That's part of it as well. I find that for me personally, it's, I see a spirit, like I said, I see a spirit of division, but also um, you can have anger. There's a time for that. It's not wrong to be angry about something. It's what happens though is if you can't let it go, then it just grows. And then it turns into an unforgiveness, and it turns into an anger, a bigger anger, a larger, and that becomes a voice, and these things are spiritual. We talk about the emotional, the spiritual, right? The physical and what that does. And for me, the meditating on what's good, what is noble, what is just, what is right, what is lovely, what is precious, what is beautiful, those things, meditate on those things because there's too much of life to enjoy. We only get a certain amount of years on this side of the sod, as they say. So our time is limited here, and are you going to spend it being angry or unforgiving or unloving? That's a choice, and we have to be careful because those spiritual forces that are talking all the time in our ear and saying, can you believe this is happening, or can you believe this one did this, or if it's whether it's with personal or whether it's political, or even spiritual. When you're not coming from a place of love, what are you doing?
Well, you're wasting a lot of energy.
Yeah. And
And
you're putting your energy in the wrong
in the
place.
wrong place. And before I said an appetite grows on what it feeds, and I'll give you an example of physicality. Once I tore my hamstring, and I was, competing nationally. I tore my hamstring, and so you take the prerequisite number of months off, and you cross train, you swim and swim and swim, you cycle, you do everything you can, but you're going to try to get back into what you're being sponsored for, which is running. And I went out the first day when I was supposed to be completely healed, and I ended up keeling over 150 yards from the house. So I called a woman who was teaching metaphysics in my house every Wednesday night. And this is in Oklahoma. And she said, well, of course you were thinking about that muscle when you went out. You were giving it all the power.
Wow.
And so the next time you go out, now tomorrow morning, you haven't torn it again, have you? I said, no, I think I just pulled it. And it talked to me. She said, well, you're talking to it. You're saying, oh, please, try and behave, try and behave. Let me get through this first training run. And of course, it's sitting there going, watch me put her on the ground. So tomorrow, go out, love it, say, I have given you time to heal. I'm not going to push you, but give me the favor of not causing me pain today. Off we go. And I didn't know that you could physically boss your body around basically by letting it have its way without you demanding more than it could give. A whole
Yes.
bunch of lessons but mostly don't don't spoil a brat.
Right.
And I have thought of that so many times because number one, I'm injured a lot, but number two,
Oh no.
you saw me. I can spill coffee at any altitude on anybody. I did that a lot. Remember the time I fainted? That story got around.
Oh, that's not fun.
It was fun.
I didn't know. I did not know that you fainted. I've had another fainter in the terminal, but I hadn't heard that happened to you.
Well, we have a few minutes, so let me tell you this very funny story.
Okay.
I was boarding and I was in NE-190. First person to get on was my roommate in my crash pad.
Oh wow.
We were just going Pittsburgh, New York. I went, oh, hi, yay. Are you working after this? No, I'm going back to the crash pad. So am I. So we'll ride together. And then a pilot came on, and she was by the window, and he was by the aisle. It was an E-190. And then the first passenger got on. It was a tiny Asian lady. And she just looked up at the overhead bin and just looked at it. And I'm going, oh, I could do that for you. I'm 5 feet tall. She's a little... I put it in the overhead bin, and the man behind her slammed it on my thumb.
Oh no.
And there was some serious damage. And I went to the pilot. I just went up to the cockpit, and I said, I'm really hurting right now. I'm a fainter. Just watch me. I think I'll be okay, but I don't know. I walked back, and I grabbed where the fire extinguisher was. I forget what was in their wheelchair. And I turned around. I looked at my roommate by the window, and all I remember is saying is help. Next thing I know, I'm on the ground surrounded by people. Oh, her pulse rate's 38. My God, my God. I said, no, I'm a runner and my pulse rate's low. Put me in her seat by the pilot. and she took my flight. She
Oh,
worked.
wow.
And I just sat there and they kept giving me orange juice and everything. And the pilot beside me kept on saying, I'm a happily married man. I'm a happily married man with 4 children. I'm going, oh, that's really good for you. Yay. And yeah, but I was sick, you know. So I don't know how many times in the little flight between Pittsburgh and New York he said that. Anyway, so she throws me in a taxi and we go back to the crash pad and she's actually sleeping in the bunk, the bottom bunk across from my bottom bunk. And she sat there on the bed after I was tucked in. And she said, oh, Heather, I'm going to tell you something. It's going to get around the company anyway, but it's very embarrassing. I said, oh, what was it? And she said, well, you fainted face first into the pilot's lap. And he was strapped in and he couldn't get you off and he couldn't get you off him. And he was going, get her off me, get her off me. And my head was going up and down and people kept getting on the plane, stepping over my legs. And I didn't know any of this. And that was hilarious. I burst.
Oh my God. I would have been
my
hysterical.
God, that's good PR for me. Anyway, anyway, I couldn't believe. I still think that's one of the funniest things that happened to me. I don't know.
Oh.
What was I manifesting that day? Anyway, all I can say is I'm a fainter. I don't know how we got on this subject, but
No, that is hysterical. I mean, we've had some really funny things happen on planes, and they tell you all these scenarios in training, right? About what could happen and all of these things that happen, and none of it really has anything to do with most of the things that happen on a plane. You go through it. The training is very important that we go through, and it's important that we know those things. But when it comes down to the individual experiences that we all have with passengers. I remember one time I had a woman who didn't speak any English at all. She was in the back of the plane, and I just so happened to be working the back of the plane that day. I'm usually in the front, and I hear the Lord tell me, go over here, go over to her and lay hands on her and pray for her. Mm-hmm. Right now, and I'm having this conversation with God in the back alley, and I'm saying, I can get fired for this, right? So he's like, go and lay hands on her. And so, I go over and I feel her forehead and I'm seeing if she's sick. And, and then I started praying for her. And it was like I was in a time freeze. Yeah, it was like no one saw what I was doing. And there was I was on the A320. So there was six people across. 6 people in back, 6 people in front that could have directly heard what I was saying to her, right? And so I start praying over her, and the woman who didn't speak English grabs my hand and starts kissing my hand and says, Jesus. And I just looked, right? Now that blessing not only healed her for whatever was going on with her, because to this day, I still don't know, but it gave me the experience of stepping out of my comfort zone.
We had to.
And and doing something that I don't normally do. I wasn't trained to do some stuff like that at JetBlue. Let me
tell you
make
something.
that clear.
Well, I wrote, one of the stories I wrote was called The Calling.
Yes.
And it was about when you're working with people.
Yes.
It's because not so much that you've chosen to do it, because I'm such an isolated hermit in my life. It's not that you've chosen to do it. You are put in a position where you can be the most helpful if you listen.
Yeah.
I was boarding an A320 once before we had first class, so everything was one thing, and I was number 1. And welcome aboard, welcome aboard, welcome aboard. And then this woman got on, and I went woof. The pain hit me so hard right here. I went, oh God, that woman is so sad. I'll have to get to her during the flight. Forgot about it completely. I'm walking down towards the back galley to get some alcohol because that's where it was kept in those days, in the back galley.
Yes.
The pilot was thirsty. No, kidding. Kidding. And I'm walking by. It's 3 on this side, 3 on that side. Woof, and I felt it, and I looked over and I said, somebody here is really sad. And then I looked at this woman sitting center seat on the aircraft, right? And I said, a name. I blurted a name.
Wow.
And I had no control at all.
That's word of knowledge.
No control at all. And she jumped up, marched me out of the area, and she said, "How dare you?" And I went, "What? I'm sorry." and knowing that I'd blurted something. And
Right.
I had heard, I'm okay, I'm worried about you. Her brother had died that morning, and that was his name.
Wow.
So she went to JetBlue and she's filed complaints right up the ladder. She's a very powerful woman. She works, she's working in Princeton. She's at Yale or wherever, and Princeton. And it got to my supervisor. And by the time it got to my supervisor, the supervisor said, "Oh, that's just Heather," you know. But about 10 months later, or a little while later, this woman got on my plane again, and I didn't know the situation where I argued with this woman, saying, "No, I didn't know this. Reservations did not tell me anything. I'm so sorry. Reservations didn't tell me anything. I just
Right.
saw this, and this is what was. He's okay. He's worried about you." It was his
Wow.
brother. He died that morning, and so I said, "Oh," and this woman gets on. I said, "Oh, you're different. Your hair's different." Didn't know where I'd seen her, and she said, "You're Heather." I went, "Yes." And I thought, "What have I done now?" And she said, "I just have to apologize to you. Will you come and talk to me when you're finished your work?" I said, "Yes." We're still friends today. We spoke
Wow.
twice this week, just texting and on Facebook. Susan Shakowski, and she's a kosher baker, and she works in a medical office, orthopedic, I think, at Princeton. And we've had many conversations, and she knows that I do this. But when we do see things like this, we have to keep our mouth shut. We can do the action, but we can't be there shocking the individual, because so many people don't realize that we are a little different. Although I think everybody can do this, but they're not open to it. You say their eyes are closed. I think their ears are closed because we're told that we don't hear the spirit talking to us. We're told
You
we
know,
don't see these things because it's weird. I mean, it's weird.
yeah. 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 I mean, these things happen, sometimes it's part of their spiritual journey. And that's why the blurt comes out. And it's not you, because you wouldn't do that to be intrusive. You know what I'm
No,
saying? Anything that you would do, I know you personally, and I know that, you would never be an intrusive type of person. Anything that you're doing, you're coming from a place of love and joy, and especially in that type of a situation, when you get those things, that's what I call a word of knowledge, that you wouldn't blurt, that wouldn't be you to blurt something out
no.
and not know. You know
I
what
was
I'm
in the,
saying?
we're always in the right place at the right time.
Right.
We
Right.
always do. We have to control ourselves. I mean, that's happened to me in the Boston airport too. And a woman went by and I just yelled out, "George." Boom. Where'd that come from? Well, she attacked me too. And her husband had passed away, but not that day.
Wow.
The week before. His name was George. And I don't know why, but that's a terrible, when you can be a little, not ready for a blurt, not ready for a word, not ready for any kind of sign. You're not ready. Sometimes you're completely, you just went boom from the head to the heart to the mouth. And
Sometimes it's just your presence. I have been in a room where um, I was sitting down at a computer and this man stood up next to me and he said, "These freaking Christians." And he
oh,
started screaming, right? And I was calm. And I'm listening to him and I'm saying, what is this man going through that this happened, that he feels this way?
you can't
This is
take
my
everything
first.
personally.
Right. And it wasn't at me personally. I knew that it was a spiritual thing, that he was feeling the presence, and that it was annoying him because of whatever he had gone through. And I didn't know what it was. Now, he might have been around people that he felt the presence and then they were negative to him. There's people that go through things. I know that so this man um was had been, apparently he had been assaulted emotionally and verbally because he was gay. And
Oh,
so I felt really, I said, I said, don't you, he said, they're so repressive. They should all be this or that. And he was carrying on. And I said, isn't that what they did to you? And he looked at me and he couldn't
oh,
speak.
you and I have had the same experience, but not with that. May
Yeah,
I tell you mine? Because that's true.
sure. Yeah.
I was in Oklahoma and I had a clinic, the same kind of clinic I have now. And a friend who came to the clinic 3 times a week was training for the Olympic trials for marathon. He was national 20K champion already. And so he called me on a Saturday morning and he said, Heather, I know you don't work on anybody on the weekend, but do you mind if I come? I said, well, come on over. So there's a knock on my door, kids running in and out. My neighbor's son lived at our house practically all day long. He was wonderful. And my little ones were running around and in and out of the clinic. And uh, I worked on him and I said, when he left, I said it wasn't torn, but, no fast stretches and no speed work for the next couple of weeks. And you should be okay for the trials. And he was okay for the trials.
Yeah.
So he left, and my neighbor, the little boy's mother, came over, and she's never been to my house. I lived there for a few years. She'd never been to my house. Her son was always at my house. My kids were never invited to hers. She worked at Oral Roberts University.
Oh, wow.
She came over and she said, she named the race, and she said, that particular race, she used a bad word, never sees the kingdom of heaven. They have a veil over their eyes. And so I called Martha, my spiritual advisor, my the guru, the one who taught metaphysics at my house every Wednesday night. And I said, I just hate these fundamentalist Christians. This is what happened. And she said, listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. She doesn't like this particular race, and you don't like the rhetoric and dogma of the fundamentalist Christians in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Listen to yourself. You're the same. You're on the same rung of the evolutionary ladder. You might climb to the next ladder, next rung, and she might beat you to it. Don't judge. I went,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
that
Epiphany.
woman, she changed my life that day because,
Yes.
and that gay man changed yours, right?
Yes.
Oh, no, you changed his.
Well, yeah, I changed his. I don't have those kinds of prejudices. I grew up in a home. My mom was a foster mom, so we had probably close to 100 foster children, and I grew up with all kinds of people from every background. So I had the unique ability to see things through a very wide lens. And in my town, it was a very white, very conventional town, and I saw prejudices and ignorance, and just lack of knowledge, just things that they didn't understand. And I said, well, you're very blessed to have this open view lens, because not everybody gets this.
I know.
Some people are raised in a very, very closed-minded society, and it doesn't leave room for love.
Oh, you're right.
And that
Love and acceptance. I don't like the
right,
word tolerate. I like the word accept.
love. Yeah.
Love.
I mean, you don't have to agree with everybody's life choice, because that might not be your life
But it's
choice,
their choice.
but it's their choice. And this is what I tell people who are fundamentalists. If you're not coming from a place of love, why should they listen to you?
Exactly.
Because, this is the thing. If you have a child, right, any child, and we're all little kids, we all have a little person inside of us. If you see a child and they are, and you discipline them without love, you're just
Right.
mean. They have a different view of who you are. It's not coming from love. If you're disciplined from a place of love, it's very different. And I think that the fundamentalists have lost sight of what that is, and they say, well, that's wishy-washy Christianity. No, it isn't. It's God is love. God is love.
I believe God is love, and I believe that Jesus was put on this earth. I am not a Christian, but I believe that Jesus existed in his best form. I believe that this was a man who came to the world as a gift to the world to teach us how you could be.
Yeah.
And once you've witnessed that kind of love, that kind of unconditional, beautiful
It changes
acceptance, not to feel that every day, how could you feel anything?
Yeah.
Anyway, I've just been given the minute sign, so guess what, Susan?
What?
We have to land this plane.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's fasten our seatbelts and go for it. You know who I interviewed last week?
Who?
Stephen Slater.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
you talk about unconditional love.
Yeah.
We had to love him, and we still do. And he had to learn how to love himself.
Yes.
So he does, by the way. He's so proud of Stephen. Anyway, I love you.
I love you too.
Please give my
God
love to
bless you.
Bill. God bless you. And give my love to Bill.
Yes, I will.
And for
And
however many people watch this show, Susan Flynn is one of the real ones, folks. She walks the walk. She doesn't just talk the talk. I would walk behind her to watch her walk the walk through JFK and any airport we landed in together and on every aircraft. And one thing about being a flight attendant, if your eyes are opened and your heart is opened, oh God, it's a beautiful thing to do.
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Thank you, Susan.
I love you. God bless you.
God
And I
bless
hope
you. I
that
love
you're
you.
having a great time up there. Stay warm.
Get out of here. Stay warm. Are you kidding? You know, one thing
And
before
icebox. And icebox
this weekend is the international cold water races in the lake. They dig out from the ice a regulation size swimming pool, and you can do 25 meters, 50, 100, 200, 400. And it's a really great, it's the second most populated or best ice racing in the world. Every
Wow.
country comes, and unless they're boycotting Trump. And I race in that, and I train in an ice-filled bathtub every day. So I don't do any swimming. I just get my body used to this cold weather. So yeah, stay warm. I'm trying, not trying. Anyway, my best to Bill, the family, your mom, and I hope we do this again, Susan.
I hope so too. And
Oh,
Bill sends his love.
thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye, and thanks for watching Life is Good, everybody. See you next week.
Mwah.
Thanks, Susan.
Bye.
We're really gonna rock tonight.